Hi everyone and welcome to our webinar. Today we're going to discuss the topic of effective planning and tracking progress of projects. Our session is going to take about 50 minutes of your time. There will be a Q&A block at the end of the webinar. So we would like to kindly ask you to post your questions into the question box of the webinar interface. We would like to start by introducing ourselves. My name is Autumn and I'm a customer success manager here at Wrike. With me is Irina, and she is also a customer success manager. The main goal of our role is to help you use Wrike in the most efficient way. Let's have a look at our agenda for today. Our webinar is going to be divided into two blocks. In the first one, we're going to focus on project planning. We will cover 4 key elements of an efficient project in Wrike and explain what actions are expected from different stakeholders involved in the project. The second block is going to be dedicated to tracking the progress of your projects. We will showcase the tools Wrike has to offer to do that efficiently, so getting an update on what's going on would not be a time-consuming activity. Alright, let's begin.
We are going to start our conversation with listing the 4 key elements of an efficient project. Then we will discuss each of these elements in detail. In order for a project to be efficient, clear goals need to be set for it and a scope needs to be defined. Every project should have a project manager who is going to be held accountable for the expected deliverables. In order to accomplish all the actionable steps required for the project completion, a group of dedicated team members is required. Finally, all the project stakeholders need to be engaged into it. Let's talk about the first element, which is clear goals and scope. It is crucial that all stakeholders agree on the project goals and scope before it gets initiated. If there are any disagreements on them, it would be better to discuss them before any effort has already been made. When determining a project scope, you need to reach an agreement with the stakeholders on the deliverables, costs, actionable steps, and deadlines. Once all the details have been discussed, add them to the description of the project in Wrike. Sometimes it is a good idea to hold the discussion of the scope directly in Wrike. You can invite external stakeholders, for example, clients, as collaborators or external users. Present the draft of the goals and other elements of the scope to them, and they will be able to add comments and make suggestions right in Wrike Workspace. If you want the stakeholders to be able to edit the draft, attach it as a Google Doc or MS Word file. Or you can paste it into the project description and only once any suggestions are made by the stakeholders, you will simply edit it. The key result here is that all the expected project deliverables are going to be listed in Wrike, and you will always have them available for future reference.
Alright, now we are going to switch to the second element of an efficient project, and it is defined project manager. One of the things that you need to decide when defining the scope of your project is who is going to be a project owner. A lot of people could be involved in the project, but to have accountability, only one person should have the ownership. Once you have determined who it is going to be, add that person as the owner of the project in Wrike. A project owner in Wrike does not necessarily need to be the assignee of any of the tasks that are part of it, but it is often the case. We strongly recommend that each project should have only a single project owner. In case additional team members need to stay on top of what's going on with the project and all its actionable steps, add these team members as followers. If you don't know how to start following a project in Wrike, please add it as a question into the question box and we will cover the following feature at the end of the session.
And in the meantime, we are passing to the third element, which is dedicated project team members. Every project needs a team to accomplish it, right? Once all the actionable steps required to complete a project are presented with tasks in Wrike, you need to make sure that each of them gets an assignee. When all the tasks are assigned, everyone will have visibility into who is responsible for what, and there will be no misunderstandings about it. Just like with projects, we strongly recommend that each task should only have a single assignee. With multiple assignees, it is sometimes hard to understand whom to hold accountable for a particular actionable step. If a task indeed involves multiple people responsible for it, it would be a good idea to break it into several subtasks. A good thing about subtasks in Wrike is that each of them behaves just like any regular task, and you're able to assign and schedule subtasks independently from the parent one. When distributing the work between the team members, you need to maintain the balance so you don't find yourself in a situation when certain team members are overloaded with work while others are underutilized. Wrike provides vast capabilities to monitor the team members' workload. The basic approach is to use a team dashboard. You simply add a widget per every team member to see what's on each person's plate. Some teams prefer to have two widgets per team member, with the first one showing all tasks and the second one showing the ones that are overdue. Obviously, if a certain team member has too many overdue tasks on his or her plate, it's a red flag. Or that team member could simply forget to mark several tasks as completed, and you need to remind them to do that. With Wrike Resource Add-on, you have extended capabilities to manage workload of your team. You can create a workload chart and use it to quickly notice who is overloaded with tasks and who is definitely underutilized. You'll be able to distribute the work between your team members directly on this chart.
Most projects have different categories of stakeholders involved. Some of these stakeholders would be actively involved into the process of working on a project, while others just need to have visibility into what is going on. During the planning phase, you need to discuss key project metrics like important milestones, due dates, and durations of the actionable steps. The obvious result of this discussion would be updating the attributes of the tasks in Wrike. One of the things we would like to stress out here is the importance of converting key project steps into milestones. They are easily distinguishable from regular tasks on the Gantt chart, and you can also build a report that would only include data on these type of tasks. So if I open a project in my marketing space and have a look at it, for example, this one, blog on best workplace habits, and if I switch to the Gantt chart, I could convert the last task into a milestone. And as you can see, the shape of this task has instantly changed from a rectangle to a diamond. So I can easily tell which task is a regular task and which one is a milestone. And as I said, you can build a report based solely on milestones. And actually, here is an example of such a report. This report shows all the tasks, all the milestone tasks that are part of the projects residing in the creative folder. So if I open this report, I would only see these milestones. And due to the fact that this report has the grouping by project or folder, I can easily tell what project each milestone task is related to. So, also with the stakeholders that are going to be involved into the project, you need to agree on the format of getting updates and periodicity of these updates. Adding these stakeholders as collaborators would be a good choice. Because they will be able to get the updates themselves. Because as you know, collaborators are also able to subscribe to the reports that have been shared with them. Stakeholders could either look at the items that are of interest to them directly or open a report. If the stakeholders don't want to register in Wrike, they can use external capabilities like Gantt chart snapshots, report snapshots, or public link to the calendar. Please note that the first two solutions only provide a static picture of what's going on. So in order to receive regular updates, you would need to constantly create updated snapshots and send new links to the stakeholders. You can create a recurrent task for yourself that will serve as a reminder for that. In case any of you don't know how to create these snapshots, it's very simple. So you open your project on a Gantt chart, and here at the top you have the snapshots button. So I can click this button, I can get a certain state of my project. For example, let's create a snapshot from current state. I get this link, I add the snapshot and paste the link into a new tab of my browser. So this is how the snapshot of this particular Gantt chart would look like to an external stakeholder, a person who is not registered in the Wrike account.
Okay, let's proceed to the second block of our webinar and discuss how you can track the progress of your projects in Wrike. The first tool Wrike has to offer is the Gantt chart that you are already familiar with. Yeah, we have already shown some examples of utilizing this tool. So in general, Gantt chart allows to see how the tasks are distributed over time, how they are interconnected, what are their durations, and what are the project's milestones. This all is possible in one place. If you click on any given task, Wrike will show you high-level information about it, including the task's assignee, status, start, and due dates. We've already touched upon the ability to create a snapshot of a Gantt chart, so now we are going to discuss this feature in detail. To create a snapshot, as you already know, we click on the button and generate a snapshot either from a current date or from project history. There is a cool feature related to snapshots. It's called baseline on the Gantt chart. To enable it, you need to click this little gear icon at the top left-hand corner of the table part and then check either baseline start or baseline due checkbox. Now when you select any of your snapshots, Wrike will show a thin line connecting the current state of each task to the one from the moment when the snapshot was made. It is considered a good practice to create a snapshot when your team is just starting to work on the project, to be able to see how the tasks have been shifted since the beginning of the project. This information would help you to plan future iterations of similar projects more efficiently and analyze the possible scheduling mistakes you might have made during the planning phase. And now let's talk about the second tool, which is reports. Reports allow you to dive deep into details. You can view multiple attributes of your projects and tasks at once and quickly identify the bottlenecks. We would like to stress out that reports are only available on business subscription and higher. Let's discuss several examples of reports. The first one is a simple project-based report. Let's choose the one. Okay. It shows us high-level information on multiple projects residing in a selected location. As you can see, we have grouped our projects by owner so that it is easy to see what is on everyone's plate. Don't forget that you can subscribe to a report. We keep telling about this functionality because it's super useful and a lot of our customers really value this possibility. Earlier, we have discussed milestones and highlighted the fact that a milestone is a specific type of a task in Wrike. So you can build a report that will only contain key steps of your project. You can use this report to quickly check on the status of these steps and find out if any of them are overdue. Remember that if you click this little gear icon on the top left-hand corner, you would be able to enable additional columns representing different attributes of your tasks, which means that you can customize the view to make it as convenient for you as possible. The last report is a little bit more advanced. Let us open the necessary one. So what we can see here, it shows the delta between the time spent on each task and the effort that has been preliminary estimated during the planning phase. Task effort is an attribute available only with Wrike Resource add-on. But as a workaround, you can create a duration type custom field with the same name and achieve the very same result. The delta is a calculated field. This feature can be enabled in Wrike Labs. There you can get early access to Wrike beta features, those ones that are experimental and have not yet been officially released. The field simply subtracts time spent value from the effort value. If you're managing or planning to manage repetitive projects in Wrike, this report would be especially valuable. It allows you to evaluate how accurately you were estimating effort for each task and use this historical data to plan future iterations of such projects more efficiently.
Project Progress, the next monitoring tool, allows you to see the percentage of completion of each project. You need to enable this feature in Wrike Labs first. So once again, in case you don't know about Wrike Labs, you simply need to go to wrike.com/labs, and here you would be able to see this feature called Project Health. So you simply click Enable, then you go back to your workspace and refresh the tab. Afterwards, the feature would be activated for the whole account. So after you enable Project Health, you will see a little color rectangle at the top right-hand corner of the Project Info panel. Wrike allows you to evaluate the progress of your projects by two different attributes: by the number of tasks completed and by the duration of the tasks. You can either choose one of these attributes or use both of them. In the second scenario, the overall bar at the top will show you the average between the attributes. So as you can see, this particular project, Blog on Best Workplace Habits, has 30% of completion by the completed tasks attribute and 24% of completion by duration of tasks attribute. So overall bar at the top gives us 19% of completion. Now, we are going to switch to the final monitoring tool for today, dashboards. A dashboard is a dynamic board that you can populate with specific lists of items called widgets. You can add both task-based and project-based widgets. Before we switch there, let's have a look at the project that I have added here. It is called Jack Harris Onboarding. So as you can see, this project is residing under the trainings folder, which in due turn is a part of our HR space. So human resources department is obviously responsible for onboarding new employees, and they have added this large project that contains several weeks of training, and each week is represented by a sub-project. Now let's open a dashboard that we can use to monitor different attributes of this project. So let me just switch to our Jack Harris onboarding dashboard and let's have a look at what we have here. The first widget is a projects widget, and it provides high-level visibility into each phase of this project. So as I said, due to the fact that in this onboarding project each phase is a week, so we can see all 4 weeks in the onboarding weeks project. As you can see, in addition to status, owner, and due date, each project has a progress bar. You can only see it if the project health feature that we have discussed with you earlier has been enabled in Wrike Labs. The next 3 widgets show us the tasks grouped by status. Not only can we monitor the status of each task, but we can also change the status by dragging tasks from one widget to another. For example, let's say that I want to visualize that this task called inbox has already been completed. I simply drag it from in progress widget to completed widget. And now this task is marked as completed. So the process of dragging and dropping the task had actually changed the status of it. Finally, we also have a widget that shows us overdue tasks. So it's good to see that only one task in the onboarding project is overdue. So it means that we have efficiently planned this onboarding process. And the last widget here shows us all the files that are related to this project. So I have added a files widget and used the Jack Harris onboarding project as the source. So any files that are attached not only to the project itself, but also to any sub-projects and also, of course, tasks are visible here. And as you can see, under each file's name, I can see the list of items to which this particular file is attached. So I can quickly jump to that particular item. As you can see here, I have jumped into a task called inviting users into the account. All right. So that was everything we wanted to share with you today. And now it is time for your questions. Please start adding questions to the question box of the webinar interface, and we will go through them one by one. We can see that several questions have already been asked, so let's begin.
And we have a question from Caroline. Would like to review that following process, please. Of course, sure. Thank you so much for your question. So, apart from following tasks, you can also follow folders and projects. So if there is any item that contains some important information for you and you'd like to stay aware of all the changes that are happening on the level of this item, you can start following it. If you're the creator of this item or the assignee, obviously you follow it by default. But if not, if it's assigned to someone else, you just need to click on this little radar icon that is present on the level of all tasks, folders, and projects, and you will start following the items there. If we are talking about following a project, as in our case, as you can see, you can decide what exactly you want to follow. What are the tasks that you want to stay aware of? And one small note here, when you start following a task, right, how can you, where and how you receive all the updates about them? You will receive them into your inbox, which is located at the top panel of your workspace, and into the incoming section of the inbox, you will be receiving all the notifications about the changes happening on those items that matter for you. So hopefully I did make it clear. Thank you for your question. Okay, so there is one more question from Caroline. Also, can you show how to set up the workload part? I'm not seeing that in my system. So Workload is an add-on. This is a paid add-on that you purchase as an additional part of your Wrike workspace. So since you don't see it on your current account, that means that you didn't purchase that. If you're interested in having a look into that and discussing the pricing about this feature, you can get in touch with your Wrike account manager, and this person will be able to talk with you and discuss the conditions here. Or you can also, if you want to understand better how it works before you jump into the discussion with your account manager, on our Wrike webinar page, you can find the recorded version of the webinar, of the session that we delivered about this tool. So let us just quickly find it. So this is the page if some of you didn't use it before. This is the page where you can find the information about all the sessions that we are about to deliver. And right from this page, you can register for those sessions, or you can watch the recorded sessions of the webinars that we have delivered. So we have just sent the link to this particular session on the workload into the chat. So all of you who are interested in this topic, feel free to watch the session. Thank you.
All right, moving forward, and guys, thank you so much for adding all the questions. We have a question from Michelle. How do I create a report that shows the dates that the status changed in a project as it moves through the phases? This is a great question. So you will be able to do that only if you just create a custom field and add the information where when you change the status of the task. So basically, if your project has, let's say, if your tasks go through, let's say, 3 phases, you can just add custom fields and just add manual add the due date of the day when you make that status change. Also, this feature is available, is going to be available in our another add-on called Wrike Analyze. We have a next question from Jody. What is the name of the ad that shows project completion? Thanks for the question, Jody. And this feature is called Project Health. So if you go to wrike.com/labs and scroll down a little bit, there you go. So Project Health, you just click enable and refresh the tab, and the feature is going to be activated for the whole account. Next question we have is from Sherry. Can you have multiple spaces or folders tied to one project status widget? So could you please elaborate a bit? Are you asking whether it is possible to add multiple sources to the for the widget? So if that is the question, then the answer is no. So in order to see multiple projects from different locations in a single widget, you need to tag all those projects into a single location, and afterwards you would be able to use that location as the source for your widget and add it to one of your dashboards.
Okay, we have a question from Tim. You mentioned 3 ways external user can monitor progress, and then the first 2 were static snapshots. What was the third method? Yeah, so here we are talking about the ways of sharing information with external stakeholders, those people who are not part of our Wrike account. Yeah, and the first 2 ways were report snapshot and Gantt chart snapshots. These are static pictures that you take. The third way of sharing the information about the progress of work is calendars. And the calendars, they, so to say, represent the roadmap of your project, right? You can see the tasks from any given project or campaign in a calendar view. You can give each calendar a specific color. You can overlay several calendars if you're running, let's say, several different projects for one customer and you want to present a full picture of all the work that you're doing for them. So once you get the view that you want to be shared with the customer, what you do, there is a wonderful button which is called public links. So you just click on that and generate a new link. This link will be shareable, right? So this is an external link that you can send over to your customer. And when the customer opens it, that's what he or she will see. So the view is pretty much the same as the view in Wrike account. And what I love the most about these public links to calendars is that they are not static, which means that every time this external stakeholder opens the link, this person will see a very fresh, updated information. So as compared to snapshots of reports and Gantt chart that you need to create new ones every time you need to provide a fresh information to, with the calendars, you generate a link just once and then the person will be able to use it. And once you no longer want to share the information about the progress on this project, you can go back to your Wrike workspace and just disable this link. Yeah, and when the person will be opening it, it won't be possible to see anything there. So you just delete it.
All right, let's move to the next question. We have a question from Sarah, pretty long one. We struggle with the proofing review process taking too long with our clients. Our designers post the draft, but the drafts sit in the proofing tool for over a week before clients comment. This causes the project to be seen as overdue for our designers when they did their part. What would you recommend so our designers are being penalized for the clients dragging their feet? This is a great question, and I would say it is not very uncommon. So several things that I can recommend here. Firstly, if you add any specific items for proofing, so let me just switch to the files view, for example, this one. So I open it. Just let me see where it is residing in. Yeah, I think in the proofing. So I just open and click create review. One of the things that you can do on a task level, there is a great feature called request status update. So even if the representative of the customer is involved as a collaborator, that person would receive a notification that he or she needs to provide the opinion. And this would, at least in some cases, eliminate the delay. Another thing is to add an extra status in your customer workflow that you're utilizing and use our great feature called assign on status change. So here I have this like Wrike for Marketers workflow. And as you can see, there is this status called in review, right? So let's say the same person or multiple folks are involved in the reviewing process. So then you click on the status and add these users to be attached to this particular status. So now, whenever any task is going to receive the status called in review, and would get automatically notified by Wrike that she now needs to provide her opinion and to either approve or to request some changes and provide feedback on these changes. So basically all of our solutions that we are providing to you right now are related to reminders. So the more reminders you are able to send to the customers, the higher would be the probability that they won't miss any moments when some actions are required from their side. So these delays you were talking about, they would be either the number of them would be either decreased or they would be eliminated for good. I hope this helps, Sarah, and thank you for this question. It's a great one. Another question we have is from Holly. I noticed you have custom fields in your projects, planned budget, actual budget. If you have multiple fields, is there a way to change the way they appear? For example, move planned budget to the top, have additional fields after it, and have actual budget as the last field. Well, if you are talking, thanks for the question, and if you are talking about the order of these custom fields in the table view, then yes, you can change the order by simply dragging and dropping the columns to the left and to the right. But if you are talking about the project view where all the fields are presented here, well, sadly, there is no way of changing their order. So if you are asking about the second thing, well, sadly, the answer is no.
Okay, we have a question from Sarah. Is there a way to see project details on every task within a project? It would be nice to see the total scope of every task instead of having to go back and forth. So the answer here is no. When we are talking about projects and tasks, we are talking about the attributes that are living on the level of each item. So on the level of a project, you will only be able to see the attributes of this specific item of a project. And the same goes about the task. So on the task, you can only see the name of the project which this task is a part of. And that's it.
We have another question from Michelle. How do I set up start date and due date to be different, but the time to spend is say 4 hours? For example, the stretch tomorrow, but we want it finished within 10 days. All right. Well, I think that what you are trying to do here, I'm sorry, could be partially solved with Wrike resource that we have mentioned several times today. Because basically what the add-on allows you to do, it allows you to enter the value of effort for any given task. So in this case, you could, for example, have a task that has an effort of 6 hours but duration of 10 days. So it means that a certain employee who is responsible for this task would need to spend 6 hours in total at any time during these 10 days. Okay, but you are elaborating on your question. But if the system tracks completion date one, why cannot it automatically track the other dates? Well, so as I said, this is not possible at the moment. I mean, it does not it does not automatically save all these due dates of the days when statuses were updated. Yeah, I totally get what you are talking about. But as I said, this would be possible with Wrike Analyze. There would be a chart there where you would be able to see how many days the task was in each status and when were these status updates happening. Another question that we have is from Hector. On widgets, is it possible to see start date instead of the due date? Thanks for the question, Hector, and short answer no. Sadly, this is not possible at the moment. Okay, so we have a next question. It is from John. Is there a way to stop custom fields from compounding when adding tasks and folders to other projects? Also, can you delete a custom field and how? Well, if you open your item, for example, the projects you are looking at, what you would be able to do, you would be able to hide that custom field. And if you want to delete it for good, well, firstly, if you hide it from your project, you just need to go to the, I would say, like highest level. Then you would not see it in your projects. But if for any reason you want to delete the custom field for good, you would need to reach out to our support so they would completely remove it from your account. But usually hiding the field works pretty much for everyone. All right, so we still have some time for your questions, and while you are preparing them, we would like to showcase some additional resources that are available. Obviously, the first resource is our Help Center, located at help.wrike.com. Let me paste the link into the chat. So our Help Center is the place where you can find articles on all kinds of different topics and quickly become an expert in any given topic. Also, please visit our community. We're also accessible through the Help Center. Our community is the place where you can find best practices shared by our customers and get answers to complicated questions from the right gurus. And finally, we've already touched upon that, but still, we would like to paste the link to our webinar page. So if you are interested in any other topic, for example, today we've been discussing Wrike resource a lot, and if you want to at least see how it looks like and what are the capabilities of the add-on, feel free to go here and find the session on that add-on. We have another question from Andy. When creating the weekly project status report, can it automatically update the start date and due date based on the task start date and end date of the last task on the project? No, that is not possible. Short answer there. And John is asking another question about the compounding custom fields. Yeah, sorry, John, could you please elaborate exactly what you mean? I'm not sure I'm following you. All right. So, I mean, when I ask a task, John is elaborating on his question. I mean, when I ask a task or folder from another space, the custom fields compound. So it becomes a lot of custom fields and trying to eliminate this. Well, so as I said, the only solution that is available to you from the workspace is just disabling these custom fields on the level of the project or folder you are looking at. But as I already mentioned, if you need to delete a certain custom field for good, you just need to send a letter to our support team and they would be able to help you with that. We have another question from Tim. Table view shows a duration column. Can you put hours in the column or enter a partial day like 0.2 days? Yes, you are able to do that. So if you just open the duration, just let me do that. I can just double click and enter 1 hour and it would just change the duration of this task to 1 hour. So basically when you do that, the bar representing this particular task on the Gantt chart, you will see that it no longer occupies the whole day, it would occupy just the part of that day. That's also a great question, Tim. Thank you for that. So Tim is asking another question. So, okay, confused at your answer to another question. You said you could not put effort different than the start and the due date. Well, maybe I said it wrong. You can enter any effort for the task. So once an effort is enabled for the tasks in a certain location, you can enter any number there. And the effort is not anyhow connected with the start date and the due date. Let me actually show it to you on the workload chart. So I open the creative chart and let's say I open Bob's row here. So here Bob has a task called create a blog post. Let me change the duration of this task from 1 day to 4 days. So what I can do, I can enable the flexible effort and let's do it basic. So I will enter, let's say 4 hours of effort and I will change it to basic. So as you can see, now Wrike distributes the effort between the working days. Yeah. So basically, I can change the effort to, let's say, 4 hours. Yeah. And as you can see, Wrike just takes the duration of the task and it distributes the effort. But I can also change to the flexible scheduling mode, enter 4 here and 3 to the 3 remaining days. So what I just did, I just basically told Wrike that even though this task is a 4-day task, Bob needs to do everything from his side during the first day. And let's say on the days number 2, 3, and 4, well, actually Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Bob's manager, for example, let it be Anne, is going to be reviewing what Bob has done. So he will not be actively working on this task, but the task still would be in progress. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Sorry if I confused you in the first when I was talking about that. Another question we have is from Andy. Once we share a report, can another user make changes? If not, what is the workaround? So if the report is shared and if that user you were talking about is a regular user or an external user, then obviously that person would be able to make these changes. If the user you were talking about is a collaborator, collaborators cannot edit reports. They can just view them. But we need to remember about an important thing. So all reports, they are built upon a certain source. So when you are building a report, you are selecting one or several locations that would serve as the source for that report. So and report only shows items from these specified locations. So basically, in order to change the report, you can either change its settings or you can interfere with the locations and the items that are residing there. Because obviously, due to the fact that reports always show up-to-date information, if you have built a report yesterday based on the folder that contained 10 tasks, and after you have built the report, you have just opened that folder and let's say deleted 5 tasks, then obviously your report would no longer show you 10 tasks, it would just show you 5. So I hope this answers your question, Andy. All right. All right, so we are out of the time, so we're going to be wrapping up. I would like to thank you so much, guys, for being active. I hope that I was able to answer your questions and Arena was able to answer the questions you had, and I hope that you have learned something new and interesting today. We would like to thank you so much for attending today's session, and we really hope to see you on our other webinars. We wish you the most productive rest of your week. Bye, guys.